And what's going on, good people? Larry Ridley here. This is Fanalysis. Of course, combines the data made popular in fantasy football with the latest sports betting trends to find you the sharpest angles. For that, we welcome back the lead betting analyst from Pickswise, Jared Smith. Hey, Jared, what's going on?
I'm just hanging in there, man. Wild week 17. Used to be the end of the year. Now it's the penultimate week of the year.
It is week 17, so just 2 weeks left in the NFL season, and you got the three best bets. We're going to talk about three games, all divisional matchups, and we'll start with the battle for the NFC South. The Bucs can clinch the division and a playoff spot with a win over the Panthers. But if the Panthers beat Tampa for the second time this season, they can take the division with the win next week. Bucs coming in 3-point home favorites down there in Tampa. What do you see that's got you believing in Brady and the Bucs?
So usually when we bet on Tampa, it's kind of the same when we bet on the Chiefs. We have to pay the tax, the Mahomes tax, the Brady tax. Well, that tax has been eliminated because it's been a really rough year for Tampa Bay, not only against the spread. They have the worst record against the number in the NFL this year, but when the line is 3 points or more, they haven't covered all season. Well, now we see this line open 6.5. It gets, kind of adjusted down to 3 during the early market process. And I think that's a spot where I feel comfortable buying in with Tampa. Because overall, I trust them a little bit more. And I know we haven't really seen it yet this year, but this Bucs team just seems to do just enough to win games. And when the line is only a field goal, that's really all they have to do here. So it's been a nice story for Carolina. I give Steve Wilks a ton of credit. Got his second chance with another head coaching job, and I think he's kept the ship afloat. But at the end of the day, we all expected Tampa Bay to win the NFC South. If they win this game, it's as simple as that. They will clinch a playoff berth. And I do trust Tom and the Bucs a little bit more than I do Sam and the Panthers in this spot.
Yeah, but you look at it, I don't know about the trusting Tom Brady. Maybe Tom Brady circa 2015, 16, 17, 18, but this iteration of Tom Brady and the Bucs, that offense rarely puts up over 20 points a game this season. Why are you so confident that they can turn it around finally in week 17 when we've seen the first 16 weeks hasn't been the case?
Oh, they're still winning games, and I think they're winning enough games to at least put themselves in this spot.
Barely,
and I don't feel. Yeah, they're still at first place in the NFC South, and I think this is a veteran team that understands how to rise to the occasion. Again, I don't love this Bucs team by any stretch of the imagination. I think they're a fade in the playoffs, but you have to compare it to the level of competition that they're facing in this spot, which is a Carolina team that is still a little, a little green around the gills, as they say. They haven't really played a game of this magnitude all season. Now, Carolina walks into Tampa this week and plays their best game of the year. Can they upset Tampa? Absolutely. But I just don't see that happening based off of what I've seen from Sam Darnold in the past when he's been in big spots. And also just overall, I do think this Bucs team understands how to play their best football when the lights are brightest, especially last week, down 10 late. They drive right down the field and score. And again, I know they didn't play well in the first, 3 quarters of that game, but when push comes to shove, it just seems like Tampa Bay is going to win this game. NFC South, I feel like they're the right side in this one.
Yeah, you look at it last week, the Carolina Panthers played very well, pounded the ball and really pounded Detroit into submission last week, over 300 yards. Chuba Hubbard and also Foreman doing a good job on the ground. Last time these two teams played, though, Jared, it was P.J. Walker taking snaps for Carolina. Sunday it'll be the former Jet Sam Darnold. You just talked about him. Last time we saw him in a big game against Tom Brady was with the Jets, and he was seeing ghosts on a prime time game. So small sample sizes can often be deceiving here, Jared, but I'm going to give you 2 small sample sizes, and you tell me which one you'd pick and put more stock in. This season, Darnold, 3-1 against the spread and straight up in his starts. He adds 3.11 EPA there play in those 4 games. That's the second best out of 61 QBs. On the flip side, Darnold has faced Tom Brady head-to-head, like we talked about, 3 times in his career, and with the Jets and Panthers, 0-3 straight up and against the spread while failing to cover the spread by an average of almost 20 points a game. Which one is the more telling stat there, Jared?
I mean, I think they're both. It's tough with short sample sizes because I think you're looking at these games and you have to just try to wrap your head around who's going to rise to the occasion in the moment. And I think that's why I lean towards the Bucs in this spot. and Carolina running the football. Listen, Tampa Bay, say what you want about their offense. They still have a top 10 defense. Todd Bowles has done a nice job there. And I think they stopped the run well enough to at least make Carolina one-dimensional. So we'll see what Sam Darnold has. This is the biggest game of his season for sure. Biggest game of Carolina's season. But I think in general, I just trust Tom Moore. And in January, and this game will be played in January, the cream tends to rise to the top. And that's why there's really no analytical metrics that I can give you that tell you Tampa Bay is having a good season, because there aren't. They're last in explosive play rate. Their offense is outside the top 15 in efficiency. But there's just something about this moment, especially at the price that we are buying in at, which we bet numbers, not teams. Once this line got to 3, that's the buy-in price for Tampa Bay. We've already seen some pushback to 4 in the market. I think this thing closes at 4. So again, no really sharp analytical reasoning here other than Tom Brady at home at a very cheap price in a game that they have to win.
We'll see. Brady and those guys, they've struggled against most defenses this season, especially the Saints. Look at an intra-divisional rivalry here with Carolina. Carolina's defense playing pretty well as well, as you mentioned, under Steve Wilkes there. Let's turn our attention to the AFC side. AFC East, Patriots and Dolphins last met week 1 down in Miami. That was a Patriots loss there to the Dolphins. I believe it was 20-7. All the Jets fans are hoping for a Miami victory to allow the Jets to control their own fate. Jets, of course, out west, out there sleepless in Seattle. Dolphins, 3-point dogs here on the road in Foxborough. Jared, which side do you have on this one?
This game, from a market perspective, again, it's a buy low, sell high scenario. So this line opened Dolphins -2 on Sunday when it was expected that Tua was going to be playing. Wake up Monday morning, you hear the news about Tua, the concussion. It kind of flips to Teddy under center, and all of a sudden the line flips as well. And we're sitting here with Dolphins +3. So what that's telling you is that the move from Tua to Bridgewater is worth about 5 points. And I think that's a little too much, because as good as Tua has looked at times this year, he's been trending in a negative direction. And Teddy Bridgewater, I think if you were going to ask me if there's one backup quarterback in the league that has the ability to kind of calm his nerves, go into Foxborough and get a win, I would probably pick Teddy first. 26-9 against the number as an underdog in his career, 19-4 as a road underdog. Granted, all those games are with Carolina and Denver. This will be his first bite at the apple in that scenario with the Dolphins. But this Patriots team's trending down. They've lost 4 of their last 5. During that stretch, their defense really trending down. They were first in the NFL in defensive efficiency weeks 1 through 11. In this little downturn, they've been knocked down to about middle of the pack, about 13th. So again, not a huge gap there, and they're still an above average defense. But when you take into account that they were a top unit through the first 3 months of the year, and now they're playing more like an average team, I do think Miami has enough weapons on the outside to take advantage of that. And I'll be honest, I think I trust Bridgewater more than Mac Jones at this point, and I certainly trust Mike McDaniel more than Matt Patricia calling plays. So Dolphins at 3, again, that key number is very important. Once it hits that key number of 3, I really feel confident that Miami's the right side here.
We were talking about Teddy Bridgewater, old Teddy Two Gloves. Why the confidence in Teddy Bridgewater? Do you think he can get the ball to Waddle and Tyreek on the outside playing in colder weather, although it should be decent weather here this weekend for the Northeast up in Foxborough? How much confidence do you have in Teddy Bridgewater getting the ball to those guys wearing the 2 gloves, old Teddy Two Gloves?
Yeah, again, I do think it's just the veteran leadership of a Miami quarterback that has been down this road before. I think there isn't a quarterback in the NFL, a backup quarterback at least, maybe outside of Chase Daniel, that has more experience. And he has experience at the starting level, and he has experience playing at a high level. So I do think Miami has enough weapons around him. Now, a big injury to keep an eye on, Terron Armstead, their stud left tackle. Questionable for this game. Obviously, like the Dolphins, significantly less if he's not playing, because New England has one of the best pass rushes in the NFL. Judon, Uche, I mean, they really get after you. So obviously, offensive line, the trenches are going to be key. Miami defensively, I could see New England having some success on the ground here, and I think that's where this handicap gets tripped up a little bit. But overall, I definitely trust Teddy Bridgewater more than the average starting quarterback, and I think a 5-point downgrade from 2 is a little bit too much.
Wow, trust Teddy Bridgewater over Mac Jones. You know what? I tend to agree with you a little bit. I still think the Pats will win this game and keep their playoff hopes alive. Let's talk about Tom Brady. Of course, when he was in tandem with Belichick, covered 59% of the time, almost 60% of the time. Can you tell me and guess what that spread is with Mac Jones and Bill Belichick? Well, Jared, it's like 50%, barely over 50%, 43, 42, and 1. How much of the Pats market do you think is based off of past performance, and which would be a fallacy since they had success with Bill and Tom together with those guys? And one more nugget, if Tua had not been injured and the FN stayed as the favorite, would have been the first time since '02 that Miami would have been the favorite in New England. So it's been a long time there. Talk to me about that, Jared.
Larry, I think that last nugget is intriguing because Miami being a road favorite with Tua, I think that tells you how the market feels about New England. Because let's be honest, Miami hasn't exactly lit the world on fire the last few weeks. So you have a Dolphins team trending down, Patriots obviously trending down too. But despite all of that, when this line opened in a vacuum on Sunday with the, Tua assumed as the starter, it was still a 2-point favorite, which assumes 1.5, 2 points for home field. That means Miami would be a 4-point favorite on a neutral, almost a full touchdown favorite at home over this New England team. So I do think there's significant, downgrading in the market for New England. And I don't think any of the previous trends or coaching angles really takes any of that into account. It's been what's happening on the field this year, and it has not been pretty for this Patriots team, especially on offense.
Yeah, and you look at a lot of the players vocally expressing some of their displeasure with the offense at Matt Patricia and those guys, especially with Mac Jones and the histrionics that he's had on the field this season. Yeah. Let's go down to the AFC South, Jared. Finally, it's not often a 2-win team. We're talking about Houston. We have a problem. Getting less than a touchdown is a good bet, but that's just what you like in the AFC South division matchup. You got the Jags and the Texans. Why are you liking the home dog Texans here, Jared, at +4?
And this line's been on the move, actually. Right before we hopped on, we're starting to hear some Trevor Lawrence rumblings about his toe, officially listed as questionable. I'm seeing this line now on my screen down to 3. So, again, it kind of goes back to what we saw Thursday night from Tennessee, Larry. I mean, I think it was obvious Mike Vrabel throwing in the towel. That game meant absolutely nothing to the Titans. This game means absolutely nothing to the Jaguars. And I think it's kind of a tennis match. Like Vrabel punts on Thursday night's game. Now Doug Peterson has Trayvon Walker a little nicked up. You got Lawrence nursing the toe. Why are you going to put him at risk when this game is literally an exhibition? The Jaguars can lose this game by 500 points. It means absolutely nothing to their playoff hopes. It's all about next week's game against Tennessee. So if I was Mike Vrabel, I would have done exactly what he did last night. And if I was Doug Peterson, I'd be sitting everyone in this game. Maybe you let Lawrence play for a half, see how the toe feels, but I would not put any significant effort or strategy into this game plan because Vrabel and the Titans are sitting at home, eating their popcorn, watching, and they've got a big game next Sunday. So I think it's more strategy than it is analytics or numbers based off of this bet. And based off of the line move, I wouldn't be shocked if Lawrence just sits completely in this game. So Texans have been playing well. They won last week in Tennessee. They were down in the fourth quarter. They got a fumble on Derrick Henry late, drove down the field, scored a touchdown, got another interception, scored again. I mean, this is a Texans team now. They covered against the Chiefs, took them to overtime, covered against the Cowboys, almost won that game. Whatever Lovie Smith is buying, clearly Houston, or whatever Lovie Smith is selling, clearly Houston buying it right now. So I think as a home underdog, and especially with Lawrence maybe not playing, this is a really good spot to jump on Houston.
Yeah, you just talked about Lovie Smith. Man, he talked about it last week. They want to play spoiler down the stretch here in the AFC South. So good stuff, Jared. We'll look forward to talking to you again. Now, Trevor Lawrence is covered in his last 2 road starts, but it's over his career against the spread. He's 12-20 against and 5-11 on the road. Yeah, that dog won't hunt. Signs point to a regression to the mean. That's how Jared values his best picks of Week 17. Check out our other segment where he focuses on the Jets and Giants. For Jared Smith, I'm Larry Ridley. This is Fanalysis.